Good afternoon. I'm Trustee Henry Berger. I'm pleased to officially call to order this borough hearing and public hearing on the calendar items on the agenda. Now can you hear me? Is this better or not? How much closer? I'm going to swallow it next. Good evening. I'm Trustee Henry Berger. I'm pleased to officially call to order this borough hearing and public hearing on the calendar items on the agenda for the Board of Trustees regular meeting on Monday, June 29th, 2026. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank President Larry Johnson and his staff for their assistance in hosting us this afternoon. Before I call on the first speaker, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues on the board, as well as members of the Chancellery who have joined me today. Welcome our Chairman, William Thompson, and Trustees Vivolo, Coughlin, Pollock, Chancellor Matos Rodriguez, Executive Vice Chancellor and University Provost Alicia Alvaro, Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer Hector Batista, Senior Vice Chancellor Sasha Owen, Vice Chancellor Mohammed Atala, Vice Chancellor Denise Maybach, and Vice Chancellor Dermot Smith. In order to ensure maximum participation, we ask that you please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. If you wish to speak on more than one item during your 3 minutes, please do so. If you are unable to finish your testimony in the allotted time, please note that pursuant to the bylaws of the Board of Trustees, a summary of the testimonies and copies of your written statements will be distributed to the trustees and the Chancellery prior to the regular board meeting. Before you begin to speak, please identify yourself, state your affiliation for the record, and if applicable, identify the calendar item you will be addressing. Your remarks will be timed by Ms. Tisha Miller. You will be able to see how much time you have left by looking at the digital timer, which will flash yellow once you have 30 seconds left, and flash red and beep when your time is up. At this point, please complete your sentence, drop your written statement in the box near the lectern, and return to your seat. Please be aware disruptions of this hearing is not permitted. Disruptive behavior may include, but is not limited to, vulgar or hostile language designed to intimidate or threaten violence, violent threats made against or threatening or targeting any attendee, individual, or participant, and behavior that is intended to create a hostile environment. Individuals responsible for such misconduct will be removed and may be subject to disciplinary action and/or other sanctions. I will now ask the Secretary of the Board to call for the speakers.
The first speaker is Kevin Adams, followed by Sandra Cheng.
Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees. Happy Juneteenth. As we commemorate the end of slavery in the United States, we reaffirm our commitment to the nation's ongoing pursuit of freedom, equality, and justice, principles we must never take for granted in our present political climate. My name is Kevin Adams, a proud PSC HEO delegate from Medgar College, named after the acclaimed civil rights leader and located footsteps away from the site of where Jackie Robinson bravely broke the color barrier in baseball. I am submitting testimony to urge for intervention regarding the indoor air quality and severe mold contamination in the Charles Evans Innes Memorial Library at Medgar College. Ensuring that our students, faculty, staff have access to a clean, safe, and mold-free environment is not a matter of convenience, it's a fundamental public health requirement and an academic necessity. This crisis is not neither new or sudden. It is a direct result of institutional indifference and years-long failure to address structural vulnerabilities. 2021, record-breaking rainfall from the remnants of Hurricane Ida devastated the library, forcing a complete facility closure. Faculty and staff were working entirely remotely until April 4, 2022. Upon returning, the campus community immediately flagged lingering water damage and foul odors. Those early warnings were dismissed. October 2023, having observed no meaningful remediation, I formally brought this crisis to the attention of the Chancellery and the Board of Trustees. May 2025, facing a fortitude of silence, I forwarded further testimony to fully manifest the multiplying medical risk. October 30th, 2025. Because the root cause of water intrusion were never corrected, the library suffered another catastrophic flooding event earlier that semester. This incident caused for property damage, ruined campus printers, and renders the library's elevator temporarily inoperable. December 2025. Following the continued administrative silence, I submitted subsequent testimony sharply highlighting the spiraling health risk. May 20th, 2026. In spite of the persistent promises passed down to the campus community by the administration, the library endured yet another distressing deluge. Because the root faults and failures were never corrected, the facility suffered another severe soaking from furious floods at the close of the spring 2026 semester. We urgently call upon the leadership to adopt the following measures: acknowledge the severity, allocate adequate resources, establish clear timelines, ensure transparency and communication, and meet directly with impacted parties, not just with senior administration. We implored the Board of Trustees and the Chancellery to honor their commitment and act now. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Chang, followed by Reina Mustafa.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Sandra Chang from
City Tech in Brooklyn, professor of art history. Good afternoon. I speak today about the declining morale among faculty and staff over shared governance at City Tech. In my role as secretary for the Personnel Committee of City Tech's College Council, I am concerned about the status of the executive search bylaw we adopted last spring. In March 2025, College Council approved by a supermajority vote a bylaw establishing a process for executive level searches that facilitates the meaningful consultation with faculty that CUNY requires. The new bylaw, which we developed over a lengthy period that included consultation with our then president, Russell Hotzler, was intended to strengthen shared governance and provide a clear participatory process. More than a year later, our new interim president has declared this bylaw, quote, null and void, end quote, without providing any specific basis for his rejection, simply asserting that it conflicts with CUNY Board of Trustees bylaws. Yet, despite faculty governance leaders' repeated requests, City Tech administration has not identified any specific provision of board policy that the bylaw allegedly violates, so that we could rectify any conflicts and arrive at a policy that meets all parties' needs. Most troubling has been the lack of engagement from our new college legal counsel. At the recommendation of CUNY Central's legal office, our legislative and personnel committees reached out to our college attorney on 3 separate occasions, seeking clarification on apparent problems with our cert process. At her request, we prepared specific questions asking precisely how the bylaws conflict with board policy, New York law, or our own governance plan, such that it would not be valid. Those questions have never been answered. Our requests for a meeting have also gone unanswered. If a bylaw adopted by our elected body is to be declared invalid, the college community deserves a clear explanation. Shared governance depends on transparency and dialogue, not unilateral declarations that cannot be discussed. I respectfully ask the trustees to urge City Tech administration to meet with faculty and staff to answer the questions that have been submitted, to identify the specific legal authority supporting our administration's position, and to work with our community. Rebuilding morale requires teamwork and requires transparent and mutual respect. If the interim president continues to close down discussion on this and other issues important to us, if he fails to show transparency and respect, a no confidence vote for the interim president becomes a real possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Reina Mustafa, followed by Melton Jackson.
Good evening to all. I am not prepared like my colleagues, but I can definitely speak on the older students returning back to college. So today I stand before you requesting resources to be continued for the students, whether they are longer library hours. We as students have found ourselves in a clutch, we have a beautiful library, but we need it sustainably to be open. So during those times of need when we need to study and cram for our tests or go over the notes for our tests, we have that available. We need resources such as the food pantry, which we actually participate in every other week here, to be sustained. that has become, I'm going to say, part of our retention plan, because we can't come to classes hangry or hungry. So that's helped us take monies put back into our pockets from our school that has granted us these rights, but will it continue? Students definitely rely on it. I have even become a volunteer of the pantry to support other fellow students to make sure that they are sustainable in their studies, that they are clearly thinking because they're not going to be hungry. We also have programs such as a snack cart that we can actually visit twice or once a day, every day that we're in class or session to receive meals. So we don't have to worry about when we come to school, is there something for us to eat? For, I'm gonna say almost going on 3 years, we haven't had a cafeteria. When I first arrived in 2022, there was a cafeteria that we were able to go and get or purchase meals from at a decent price. That has been discontinued, I'm going to say, for the last almost 3 years, and there have been promises of that returning, and it has not. So imagine us being in class, now we have to leave the campus to go and get a meal to come back to class. That's not sustainable for anybody that's costing us money to travel back and forth just to have a meal. I recall my mother even saying to me one time, I'm worried you're going to be on the campus almost 10 hours a day and you have nothing to eat from the time that you leave home. So those are things that we need to think about. There are also resources that I'm aware of as a student that are able to help students if they have problems maintaining their bills, because like myself, if you're a nursing student, you cannot work and go to school full time. So there are things that we just need to please continue to allow it to be part of our retention plan so we can stay in school and successfully graduate. Thank you for hearing me today.
Thank you. Melton Jackson, followed by Christian Abegala.
Good afternoon. My name is Melton Jackson, and I'm a criminal justice student here at Bronx Community College. I would like to talk about the services you provide for students at BCC and how it has helped me continue to stay in school. BCC has, I've been working closely with BCC Cares Resource Center. They've worked with me through food insecurities and helping me with insecurities involving my rental arrears and, I'm sorry. And utility bills, okay. Through this grant and just through the assistance with them helping me, I was able to stay in school. I didn't have to drop out, and just continue to help me with my studies moving forward. I wasn't prepared for this message, and I apologize for that. However, I would hope you consider in keeping this program, the funding for the program. It's very helpful for students, for insecurities that, go through food insecurities and go through just life issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Christian Abigalam, followed by Christopher Swift.
Good evening, member of the Board of Trustees. My name is Christian Abigalam, and I'm a student at Bronx Community College, Health Science major. I was an immigrant student who has faced significant financial and personal challenges. Attending college was not simply about enrolling in classes. It was about finding opportunities, support, and a community that believed in me. Through organizations such as Student Government Association, the African Student Association, and other campus leadership opportunities, I found more extracurricular activities. I found sense of belongings. This program helped me to develop leadership skills, public speaking abilities, and confidence. Many students arrive at college feeling disconnected or isolated. Student clubs and leadership organizations create space where students can build relationships, discover their voices, and remain engaged in their education. Continuing funding ensures that every student has access to these opportunities, regardless of their background. I want to emphasize on scholarship and non-employment-based opportunities. Many students at CUNY work long hours to support themselves and their families while pursuing their education. Scholarships, internship, and non-employment opportunities reduce financial stress and allow students to focus on learning, leadership, research, and services. As someone who has benefited from scholarship support, I know firsthand how transformational these investments can be. Financial assistance is not just about covering expenses, it's about creating opportunities. It allows students to stay enrolled, excel academically, and contribute meaningfully to their campuses and communities. Resources such as food pantries, counseling services, tutoring centers, and student wellness programs are often the difference between a student dropping out and a student graduating. Students cannot focus on their classes when they are worried about their needs. These services provide stability, support, hope to many students in our campuses. I respectfully ask the board to continue strengthening funding for student leadership program, scholarship, and essential support services so that future students can have some opportunities to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Please leave your testimony if you can. And the last speaker is Christopher Swift.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Swift, and I'm a professor of theater history at City Tech. I'm testifying today to express concern about the current leadership at New York City College of Technology. Milton Santiago is the interim president of City Tech, and at a meeting of College Council this past year, he has repeatedly stated that he does not need to abide by the bylaws of our college because he simply does not agree with them. Interim President Santiago has also made boldly contradictory statements regarding bylaws that dictate the process of hiring college administrators. In the March 2026 meeting, he stated that the CUNY Board of Trustees had contacted the college attorney, Catherine Raymond, and told her that the BOT reviewed and did not approve bylaws amendments that were democratically voted on and adopted the previous academic year prior to his term as interim president. In a subsequent statement made at the May meeting of College Council, interim President Santiago's account changed, and he stated that, in fact, bylaw amendments made in the spring of 2025 had never been submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval by outgoing President Russell Hotzler, and therefore the bylaws were not in effect. Interim President Santiago went on to say that he will not now submit them for the Board of Trustees to review, again, because he simply does not agree with them. The March and May statements cannot, at the same time, both be true. Due to time constraints, I cannot tell you about the 8-year process it took the City Tech governing body to establish reasonable guidelines that would preserve the rights of faculty to participate in the hiring of college administrators. Nor do I have time to explain the adopted language was modeled on governance documents already approved and enforced at other CUNY campuses, Queens, Brooklyn, John Jay. Rather, I respectfully request that the BOT address these issues with interim President Santiago, and in an expeditious manner. The college is currently conducting unauthorized searches for academic deans. The CUNY bylaws of the Board of Trustees, Policy 2.08, Section 3.2, states that the appointment of academic deans be made, quote, by the President only with the advice of and consultation with the faculty or an elected representative faculty body through the establishment of an appropriate search committee procedure, end quote. This procedure is already enshrined in City Tech bylaws, and as Policy 2.08 states, is fully enforceable by the CUNY bylaws of the Board of Trustees. At this very moment, both sets of rules are being violated. Unfortunately, this is more than an infraction of an isolated college statute. CUNY governance plans are supported and mandated by New York State Education Law, Article 125. I hope that we can all agree that it's important to align ourselves with the laws of New York State in acknowledgement of the state's budgetary state. Thank you.
Thank you. Please submit your testimony. Thanks.
Well, thank those of you who braved the weather to come here today. There being no more speakers, I declare the meeting adjourned.